one anime that has gained so much in quality and overall awesomeness to the point where I consider it to be one of the best anime series of not only all time, but of the early 2000s, is without a doubt Paranoia Agent. I made a review about this particular psychological horror anime about 8 years ago during the Halloween season, and I'm still astounded to see just how strongly this holds up. It should be no surprise that Paranoia Agent was created and directed by Satoshi Kon, who is more renowned for his films such as Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfathers, and Perfect Blue, and his last masterpiece being Paprika. But in terms of having a go at television, it was pretty much a rarity, and Paranoia Agent was that one anime series that continued to show that just because something like this ran for 13 episodes doesn't mean that it was skimping out on quality. In fact, this particular anime series had abundant quality thanks to its thrills, use of suspense, chills, and absolutely amazing use of tension. The mystery surrounding Little Slugger, as well as the tragedy that was concocted in terms of Maromi, the therapy dog, being inspiration by Tsukiko after what happened to her pet dog, are absolutely amazingly woven, and I was totally in for it from the very beginning. There's just a whole lot of facets about Paranoia Agent that makes it all the more scary yet intriguing. There's no demons or monsters or supernatural creatures lurking around. Granted, there are some supernatural elements to be found in here, but the scariest monsters found in Paranoia Agent are, of course, humankind and their uglier sides, their more depraved sides, as well as their more corrupt sides, and even the sides that become a lot more insane when push comes to shove. That is just how wonderfully beautiful Paranoia Agent is in a dark way, and I was totally in for it from the very beginning. Yes, the anime does start off quite unassumingly with Tsukiko, who is this withdrawn animation creator and who was the mind behind Maromi, the therapy dog, but she becomes the victim of a local assailant known as Little Slugger. He not only targets her, but he also targets anybody who is on the verge of a psychological breakdown, from a gossip columnist who wants the dirty stuff found out about other people, to an overachieving but narcissistic young male student who ends up being a scapegoat, to a teacher with dissociative personality disorder who also is a teacher by day but a prostitute by night, to a corrupt policeman who has advances to his own daughter, to a suicide pact, to the behind the scenes look at what's going on with Maromi the therapy dog. Everything about Paranoia Agent, let alone the characters involved here, are absolutely intriguing and thoroughly engaging people that, although you may not like them and you find them despicable, especially when it comes to some of their actions, and even with some people that you feel for, such as Harumi, the tutor who also ends up having another personality through Maria, you definitely realize that there's a whole myriad of characters that you cannot help but feel so intrigued with, and you'd love to write a book about each and every one of them because of how the different layers of them unravel every single time. And the beauty of Paranoia Agent is not just within its characters, but also in its atmosphere. Dark and gloomy, as well as pretty claustrophobic when push comes to shove. That's how much Satoshi Kon managed to make Paranoia Agent a thrilling and thoroughly engaging ride. It's not always there to hold your hand. It's there to get you in this maze and to find out what's going on next. And therefore, find yourselves in situations that you never thought you were going to get yourself into. And I also must give it to the detectives, especially the older detective and the younger detective, Naniwa. And Naniwa does have a lot more fascinating and intriguing ways of how to solve certain cases, unlike his older partner, in which he's a lot more traditional and believes that the rules must be constantly integrated, let alone constantly used, especially when getting the job done. Whether you like these characters, detest these characters, feel sorry for them, or just want to bash their brains in, there's no doubt that Paranoia Agent has something in store for you. And the mystery revolving around Lil Slugger and Moromi the therapy dog also coalesce with each other to the point where they form the dual heartbeats as to what makes Paranoia Agent one of the greatest anime series I've ever seen, and one that I still love to this day. Mind you, I first caught this anime by complete chance when I was a teenager of about 16 years old in 2008. I was in my second year of high school, and from then on, I was quite intrigued to see Paranoia Agent unfold before my very eyes, and I wanted a lot more of it. It wasn't until I was 25 years old in 2017 that I started to appreciate the series a whole lot more, even after I listened to and watched several reviews of Paranoia Agent. And I can safely confirm that Paranoia Agent holds up extremely well. It continues to age so beautifully, like the finest of wine, and therefore has made me thoroughly engaged with the source material, and it's helped me look at horror anime, let alone psychological horror anime, with a more critical eye. And it's also helped me to appreciate the twists and turns I have seen all the way through. And it's not only thanks to its story, its animation. What more can you expect from Satoshi Kon and his animation? Absolutely crisp when it needs to be, yet unafraid to show different facades, and therefore make the viewers both entranced yet also terrified at the same time with all of those visuals. Sometimes the visuals can be colorful, while most times the visuals can be dark and haunting, thus taking great advantage of the lighter sides as well as the darker sides of what make Paranoia Agent thoroughly engaging and thoroughly thought-provoking. Let's also not forget about the voice cast from both tracks. On the Japanese side, you have the likes of Mamiko Noto, before she had a go at Ai Enma from Hellgirl or Jigok Shoujo, voicing Tsukiko, and her withdrawn, sweet, yet terrified and nervous persona, especially when she's haunted by guilt, regret, and pain, underneath that sweet, meek, and kind shell that she has. Let's also not forget about Haruko Momoi, voicing Maromi, whose brand of adorability and cuteness can also mask a little bit of menace. And Daisuke Sakaguchi as Little Slugger, thoroughly charismatic in a dark way. We dare not forget about the other amazing talents found in Toshihiko Seki as Maniwa, who is just as charismatic and just as awesome as a voice actor, and also the likes of Mayumi Yamaguchi, Makoto Tsumura, Tomoko Kawakami in a relatively small role in this particular anime, and Yasunori Matsumoto, just to name a few of the sterling voice actors and voice actresses in Paranoia Agent. And on the English side, it is just as amazing to listen to as the Japanese side. Michelle Ruff, I have to give props where props are due in terms of what she was able to accomplish as Tsukiko, who is just as nuanced and just as thoroughly intriguing as her Japanese counterpart, Mamiko Noto. The same goes for Carrie Savage as Maromi, who's also adorable, but also has that tinge of menace. And let's also not forget about Sam Riegel, Johnny Young Bosch, William Frederick Knight, and all of the wonderful voice actors and voice actresses who have had a go at Paranoia Agent. To say that Paranoia Agent was a thrill ride is a mere understatement. It's not only a major thrill ride, but it was a labyrinth. It was a huge roller coaster ride of intrigue and thrills, and it's helped me just understand and appreciate the majesty and the brilliantly mad mind that Satoshi Kon was defined by. There was no doubt that Paranoia Agent continues to have a special place in my heart because it took me seriously as a viewer. It challenged my perception about what horror anime can look and feel like, and it was not afraid to take me into dark places, especially when the human soul, mind, and psyche are at their most crippling and their most depraved, especially when Little Slugger comes in with that crooked baseball bat to bash somebody's brains in, and there probably might not be any means of escape before it's too late. But the ultimate message about Paranoia Agent is we are in charge of our own destinies. It's up to us if we let our own actions, let alone our own madnesses and vices control us, or we become more proactive and change for the better, let alone ensure that we do not end up losing our minds and ensure that our grip on reality remains strong, yet also take full responsibility of ourselves, no matter how hard things are in life. Sure, you will have your moments where you will crumble, You will have your moments where you want to give up and you feel like things have become more hopeless. But the ultimate reminder is you have to be strong for yourself and for the people that you deeply care for. I also must bring up the opening of Paranoia Agent because this is also where the scares and the thrills managed to thoroughly intrigue me a lot more. Now you see all the characters laughing and just having a ball while they're in some really dire situations, from someone about to jump off a building to commit suicide, to someone drowning, to someone dealing with a whole lot of economical shit, to someone about to be at the end of their ropes, and someone who's on the verge of being in an overpopulated environment and they're still laughing. That just shows you right there that these characters have totally lost their grip on reality and totally lost themselves into madness that they can't help but be thoroughly insane and go crazy as to everything that has been happening to them. And as for the ending, it's a lot more calming in an eerie way, but it also has that lullaby-like quality with everybody sleeping, but with the giant Moromi watching over them, thus making them realize that this could either be a dream or a nightmare they're about to get themselves into. And the major surrealism of Paranoia Agent has always, and I mean always, remained consistent. And it still remains strong to this day, both in its quality as well as its overall enjoyment. I still love Paranoia Agent to this day because it managed to take me into dark places and challenge my own views as not only an anime watcher, but also as someone who considers himself a proud aficionado of anime. I've managed to be thoroughly engaged with what Paranoia Agent had to offer, and therefore made me absolutely intrigued with everything that it had to dish out. And I'm sure that those of you who watched, let alone experienced, Paranoia Agent for yourselves could agree if this was something that made you feel like you were in the most amazing yet haunting labyrinth, but managed to find something exciting about it. And if you feel like the ride, let alone the journey, was so worth it. And did you also feel that the voice actors from the Japanese and English sides did amazingly? Or did you feel like this particular anime was not something that held up so well? Please, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And until then, I hope you all have a good evening and take care of yourselves, everybody.